In the last Mish-Mash video, I spoke about Greg Van Beek, the DJ of the Nostalgia Radio Time show on 1420thebreeze.com, an internet website radio station. I said that his original time was 10 p.m. and they were going to jack it back to 9 p.m. beginning on May 3rd. That's still true. But what I failed to add was we're talking Central Time here. So it'll be 10 p.m. back to 9 p.m. beginning on May 3rd, Central Time. Last year when I had a miserable failure of these potatoes in these barrels, which was, the first year I did it and it was more experimental, but I think I might have gotten lazy and not really mixed the dirt well enough. I think it was peat moss and Miracle Grow dirt and some topsoil. And I mixed it all together, but I may not have mixed it well. That was probably mistake number one. Mistake number two, I didn't put enough drain holes in the bottom of this. I went with what was recommended in a video that I saw. And I'm telling you right now, those tiny holes along the bottom, that was not enough. So this year I made those larger holes. And the third thing I should have done that I did not do is I should have sprayed the plants with malathion or something like that, 7 dust, as they were coming up. They come up a little ways, then you cover it with dirt, come up a little ways, fill it with dirt. I should have put a little malathion on there to keep the bugs out. So this year, that's what we're going to be doing. And there's a possibility I may have overwatered it. So there's what, 4 things I messed up last year. In the last Mish-Mash video, you'll recall I had purchased this modular component system AM/FM stereo receiver. And it's an MCS model 3222. And I'll tell you what, up until the time I bought it, I had never heard of modular component systems stereo equipment. Never heard of it. Did not know that JCPenney sold it. I just never went in JCPenney that much, I guess. Anyway, one of our subscribers wanted to, at least one of you, wanted to see what the inside looks like. It looks real good. I do not need to blow it out with the air compressor. I don't have to do anything. It is clean and spotless. This is amazing. And no sense in putting the air compressor to it because there's nothing to blow out. However, we do have, let me get a chair here where I can focus in a little better. We do have this is the power supply board right here. And the 2 electrolytics, which are 6800 microfarads at 35 volts. This one here in particular is pretty spongy on top. It's puffed up a little bit. This one here not so bad, but this one here is puffed up, and you can see how it goes down in there. Pretty puffy. This one here is not so bad, pretty hard, not so bad. But this one here, boy, I'll tell you what, it looks like a trampoline there almost. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these. I'm going to put some brand new 6800 microfarad 35 volt caps in there. One of our subscribers, his wifey, watched the video I did last year on growing potatoes in a barrel, and she decided to give it a try herself. And he told me at the end of the year, he wrote me a message, and he said, hers turned out pretty good. Rub it in my nose, Mine were a total flop, He said, no, she got some pretty good potatoes out of hers. Well, this is war. This is potato war. It's going to be me against all the wifeys out there who grow potatoes in barrels. I will be victorious this year. This year I'm also going to grow radishes in a container. There's really no need for me to grow, put out a garden and grow a whole bunch of radishes. No one in this family except me likes radishes. I mean, these are country folks. Show me someone from the country that doesn't like a radish. Unbelievable. And tomatoes. We have people in our family that are tried and true 100% Arkies who don't like tomatoes. You gotta be kidding. Anyway, last year I grew these red ones here, and I wasn't happy with their performance. So this year we're going to go with the sparkler white tips. See how that goes. And I poked individual holes because that's the way I like to plant radishes. I just don't like showering them all over in a small container, then have to come out here and spend an hour and a half picking them. Put a seed in each one. Tell you what, let's go ahead and check out one of the songs from the 60s Super Oldies albums. By the way, each one of these has 2 albums in it. I didn't know that. I only drug out the top one. I never realized there was another one in there. I was in kind of a hurry going through the records. I had to double, reward there. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, they were. Do the locomotion. This is one you got to crank up. Yeah, baby. Yes, it is. Locomotion with me. Swing 'em. Come on, baby. Jump back. Jump back. Well, I think you got the slide. Whoa, whoa. Now that you can do it, let's make a chain now. Yeah, make a chain. Do the locomotion. A chug a motion like a railroad train now. Toot toot. Do the locomotion. Do it nice and easy now. Don't lose control. No. Yeah, baby. Come on, do the locomotion with me. Do it now. I tell you what, guys, too bad you all didn't grow up during that period of our country. So here's this year's try. I went ahead and bored larger drain holes in the bottom. They're about that big. They're a good sized drain hole. I bored 3 across, 1, 2, 3. Then of course I've got the drain holes around the side. Last year we had those potato worms in there. I think I let this barrel set all year with the dirt in it. So I don't know, maybe they're all dead. But anyway, I've got about, maybe 8 inches of dirt in the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and put the potatoes in. We've been having a problem with our Roper brand, I think it's made by Whirlpool, but with our Roper brand wash machine. Those of you who follow my vids will remember that in Mish-Mash number 47 I showed you a large box of tubes that was sent to me by a fellow named Brian. And he's really big into preserving these radios and our heritage in this country as far, in terms of radios, electronics, things of that nature. And he sent me some pictures of the radios that he has himself. Floor models, which I really like floor models. I just don't have the room in my house to have a whole bunch of them. I'd like to have a pile of them, but the wife would never tolerate that. Anyway, I told him that I would show everybody his radio. I think they're pretty nice. This one here is a 1941 RCA. He says it's all original, never been restored. He said it plays good. Well, there you go. That looks pretty nice, huh? 1941 RCA. I don't know what model that is, what number. And then he has another one here, which is a 1941 also. It's a silver tone. He says it works, but also never been restored. That's pretty nice. I like that. Then he's got this booger right here, which I really like. This is a 1936 Fairbanks Morris. Model 91. He said it does not work because it needs a power transformer. That's a nice looking radio there. I like that. 1936 Fairbanks Morris. And I really like the dial on that thing. Check out the dial. That's pretty nice, huh? Slick, very, very neat. And here's the chassis. Needs some work. That's the power transformer that's bad, I guess. And lastly, here's what the speaker looks like. Look at that big booger, huh? Alright, thanks Brian. We appreciate you sending me those pictures. I like those floor models. I hope the rest of you got a kind of little kick out of that. You see there's people all over the United States that have these radios and they're just hanging on to them. Many folks out here don't even know that these YouTube videos we do are even up. They don't know about antique radio forums and things like that. They just keep these radios and maybe someday they'll find somebody that'll fix it for them, or maybe they'll get around to doing it themselves. Or maybe they won't, but they're all over the US, just like us. One other thing, if you recall, I mentioned that one of the light bulbs might be blown out, and it was. It's this one right here. There's 3 bulbs of this thing, top, bottom, and in the center, and that one's blown out, and they all 3 connect to this board right here. I'll be measuring the voltage here pretty soon, but I think those are 8-volt bulbs. We'll find out. Anyway, they're a real problem child, because the rubber grommet that holds them in this thing right here. Let me get a little closer where you can see, hopefully. Come on, focus camera. I guess it just doesn't want to do it. But that white rubber grommet right there has hardened up like a rock over the years. So I'm going to have to come up with a way to soften it. I cannot take the bulb out from the top. It will have to pop out of this little fixture here, this little plastic thing. I'll have to pop out the entire rubber thing, and I've got to get that rubber soft. Now, I've gone online and I found out that if you use transmission stop leak or WD-40 and you soak it in that the rubber will soften up. Well, that's interesting. I'd never heard of that before. So what I plan to do tonight is I'm going to go ahead and fill this little well up here with WD-40. I'm just going to let it sit there and soak all night long. And because, you know, the rubber grommet comes into the very bottom of the base of the bulb here. You can see part of it. See that white up in there? I'm going to let that soak and see what happens. It's worth a try. If the WD-40 doesn't work, then I'll go ahead and get some of that transmission stop leak somewhere. I don't know. I don't want to buy a whole can of the stuff. I'll come up with something. But I did manage to get it a little bit loose to where it'll spin, as you can see. So it does wiggle a little bit, but it just does not want to come out because it's so hard. Another thing I'm going to do this year that I have done, I should say, I cut the potatoes and let them set for about 3 days and harden up like that, instead of just sticking them down in there with the wet. And I also let the sprouts grow real long. So all of these have been cut and they've crusted over. And we're going to go ahead and stick them in. I'm going to try growing 2 barrels of it. It fills all the way up on wash. Everything works fine. Then it goes through the wash. But when it finally goes into the rinse cycle, it only fills, you know, partially, just a small amount of water at the bottom of the drum. The WD-40 did not soften up the hard rubber that was holding these lamps in. It's just, see it? Still hard as a rock. It soaked all night long. It didn't do a thing. However, it did make the socket, I mean the inside of the rubber slippery enough that I could take this little tool right here. It's just a little small thing that I bought somewhere. They were 4 in a pack, or I got it for Christmas or something. I don't know. You can use anything that's got a little bend to it. And I was able to get it up underneath like so and push upward. And when I did, I was able to catch the edge of the bulb and it popped right out. So that's what we have. We have these bulbs with soldered wires on the end. Piece of cake, but I'm almost certain they're 8-volt bulbs. The potatoes are in. I'm going to put a little more dirt over the top, maybe an inch and a half. But I put them at, it would be like 12, 6, 9, and 3 o'clock. And let's go ahead and cover them up and then put a little water on the top and move to the second barrel. I've got the unit turned on, and I've got an alligator clip from my multimeter lead to this little board here. This little board is the junction board that feeds all the wires out to the 3 bulbs. So I've got the meter set to AC. Listen, I'm going to go ahead and touch this right here. Let's see what I got on my meter. 8.27 volts AC. That's AC I'm reading. So we need an 8-volt bulb. I haven't drilled holes in the bottom of the second barrel yet, and so I'm going to do it now. And what I'm using is just a standard old, I think that's a 1-inch hole saw. And I'm just going to drill one there, one in the center, and one over here. And I'll just drill one in the center right now while we're waiting. Doesn't matter where. Nothing to it. Piece of cake. Well, it just so happens that I have 3 8-volt 250 milliamp bulbs, wedge base. These are the bulbs I ordered for my my Pioneer receiver a while back, with those colored little rubber things that go over the top, for those of you who kept up with my vids. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and take one out. We are going to snip off the wires going in. This is kind of interesting. The wires actually go up into the glass here. Let me see if I can get a zoom in and get a better look at that. The wires actually go up into the glass. And so I'm going to have to cut it off at the base of the glass. Just take my old nippers and cut it. And then solder the new bulbs on. I'll show you how that's done. Well, folks, as it turns out, in the rinse cycle, there's not supposed to be as much water as there is in the wash cycle. In fact, there's only supposed to be about 9 inches of water in the rinse cycle. 9 inches? You can't rinse soap out of clothes with 9 inches of water. Matter of fact, you look down in there, you got more than 9 inches of clothes. You can't even see the water. Well, I've done a little research, and I found out there's a way to get around this. There's a way to get around this to get the water level up to the same level as it is when you're doing the wash cycle. And I'll show you how to do that in the next Mish-Mash video, if I can figure it out myself. I know how to do it if I can find the right wires. Well, that's it. 1 seed per hole, more or less. Those seeds are pretty tiny. Okay, I think we're ready to go. I'll just put a little water on it now and put the lid on it and see what happens. First thing I'm going to do is go ahead and I've already got these the bulb removed and these wires stripped back a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and tin them. And after I tin them, then I'll go ahead and take these little pieces of heat shrink that I have here. I'm going to go ahead and lower it. I've got it taped in place right now. I'll have to remove the tape in order to do this, but the heat shrink will go all the way down into here. Then I'm going to go ahead and solder. I'm going to make a little hook in the end of each of these tinned wires, just a tiny little hook. And then I'm going to go ahead and solder it to these wires that I straightened out. These wires were up flat against the glass, but I bent them down, straightened them out. We'll solder them to the wires like that. Bring the heat shrink up, shrink it all down. It'll work fine, last a long time. Incidentally, these are long life light bulbs, supposedly. 8 volt, 250 milliamps. Now Rocky thinks my potato dirt, and so does Boo Boo. They think it's a great place to bury a ball. Get out of my potato dirt, you guys. Now here comes Rusty. He said, what's all the hoopla about? Rusty, he said, I ain't going to get too dirty. The heck with that. Old Mac's in the house. He didn't want to come out for a walk. All done, and as with all solder joints, you give this thing a good scrubbing with your alcohol or some contact cleaner sprayed on the brush. Give it a good cleaning, okay? Let's go ahead and plug it in. Now I got it plugged in. Let's go ahead and turn it on and see if it's going to work. I should have 3 lights now. And I do. 1, 2, 3. Isn't that wunderbar? Alright, all I have to do now is slide the heat shrink up and shrink it down. By the way, I've got drain holes drilled, every so often all the way around this thing. They're about a 1/2 inch size hole. You got to have some decent drainage. And now we'll go ahead and put our old lid on here. And really what we're doing is turning this thing into just a miniature hothouse. Let's put these on. We're expecting a lot of rain again on Sunday. Today is Saturday. It's either Sunday or Monday. We're getting the rain. I can't remember. But that'll take care of us. Alright, the bulb is done, and it's going to be about 4 more days before the new electrolytics come in so we can get those installed. So, I think I've been transported back in time. Yeah. You surfer girl, my little surfer girl. I have watched you all problem on one of my switches here. It's a little dirty. We're gonna have to clean that baby. Can't mess around here with the Beach Boys. Alright. Oh well. I'm gonna have to shut it down.